All right, boys. Let's get into this
There are a
reaction.
huge amount of unknown mechanics in Siege that can get you an insane amount of free kills and even win you rounds just by abusing these mechanics. These aren't glitches, but instead are features the game has that most players don't know about. So I am going to fix that. Everything from the most broken Capitao one-way smokes where they are blind but you can see their entire head, to ways to use impact grenades to one-shot enemies. Coming out and stream to ask me any questions you have, and let's get started. There's a way that you can make her completely blind. You can turn a zombie here into
I don't doubt that he is.
himself.
I don't doubt that he is. I just don't think he is not. All right, let me rewind
Completely blind. You can turn a zombie here into Helen Keller herself. All you need to do is shoot the roof right above a zombie, right? So you could quick peek and just do it like that. And then all of a sudden, a zombie is now completely blind. Although I can see her just fine. Even if she crouches, she is still completely blind. But I can see her entire body. This is one of the most broken one-ways in the entire game. Thorn is currently overpowered. However, she works best when you don't place it above doorways. The issue with placing
I'm a big Thorn fan right now, so I need to watch that
doorways
very
like
quick.
this. Whenever Ace walks through the doorway, he can just back up and survive. Instead, you should place it in spots where once the Thorn mine activates, it's too late for them to leave. So for example, placing it behind these monitors here, this is broken because the monitor blocks it, but it doesn't block the damage. It just blocks the activation. So if Ace jumps in this window here, it won't activate until he's already going to plant on default here. So once he goes into plant, then it activates and it's too late for him to leave. And this works on any destructible object. So for example, this radio here, if you place it where they cannot see it outside of the window here, then whenever you place it, now it is blocked by the radio and they can't see it from outside the window. So whenever they jump in the window, it won't activate until after they're all the way inside. Then even if they try to leave, it will destroy the radio and kill them through the radio. If you combine proxies and impact grenades, you can get an obnoxious amount of free kills. So for example, just put your proxy alarm behind this gas pipe here. If you place it a little bit higher, sometimes it can be a little bit more hidden because they're not looking all the way up there instead of at eye level. Then go into church over here, jump up on top of this table here, and then make holes as high as possible on this wall, right? Because usually you're going to contest the stairs with this angle. Instead, if you make it extra high, then instead they can't see you, but you can throw an impact through. Then whenever Ash walks down this hallway here, I can throw my impact grenade and it will kill her instantly. And it also works for oil pit. Just make holes all the way up here, and then you put the proxy alarm hidden behind this box. This way, as they're walking up, if they're ADS, they're never gonna see it in a million years. Then go into Arsenal, jump on top of this box here. Now, obviously, right, this is an angle that they can see. So you either want to crouch or you want to prone, so that way they won't end up shooting you. Then whenever Ash hits the proxy alarm, I can throw the impact and it will destroy the gas pipe, killing her instantly. Impact grenades are very, very good for countering hatch openings. A perfect example is on kitchen hatch on Clubhouse. So just reinforce the hatch normally up here. Once the hatch is reinforced, head back downstairs and we'll finish the setup. The next thing you want to do is open up the roof right about here. As you can see, there is a little gap here in between the bottom of this and the hatch. What this allows you to do is once Hibana places her pellets on the hatch, you can actually just throw your...
You have a Cronus to play DMR. What? No, I don't. Thoughts on the 1v1 mode?
Impact grenade to hit the bottom of this, and it will destroy all of the pellets. And this works even if Hibana activates her pellets. So if she activates her pellets on the hatch here, then if you throw the impact grenade, it stops the hatch from opening. So if you have a few people with impacts, maybe you have 4 impacts, you can effectively destroy every single Hibana pellet, completely preventing the hatch from getting open. You can get free kills with Denari just by the enemy punching the window. So for example, all you gotta do is place some Denaris, ideally just one, all the way out there on that box. Then you can just place a ton of them inside of the window here, right? This gives you a ton of lasers that shoot directly outside the window. Now, if the lasers are not activated, it's very hard to see that Denari, especially since nobody's looking back there in the first place. Then if you barricade this window, then the Denaris do not connect. So now if Nomad punches the barricade, it will activate the lasers and instantly kill her. Cades are one of the hardest wall denials to destroy. However, most people make it extra easy on the attackers, right? They might place it right here, which although it does electrify the wall, this can be destroyed in a whole number of ways. For example, they could go outside this window and they could toss a grenade through the window. They could go below here, look up through the floor, destroy the Cade Claw. There are so many ways to deal with a Cade Claw like that. So instead, try some of these Cade Claws. For Organ Closet specifically, you can throw a Cade Claw up here on this gutter. If you throw it right below the gutter here, then it's very difficult for them to see. Mainly because they're never going to check outside for the Cade Claw. For the next one, just come in here, shoot a hole in
I would definitely see that.
This cabinet here. Ideally, it falls right in front of it, so that way it makes it even harder to see. And then throw your Cade Claw in the cabinet there. Once I go back to the wall, you can see that the wall is electrified. Now, if they have an IQ or a Thatcher, then this is fairly easily countered. But it would have been easily countered no matter where you placed it. Now, you can do a very similar mechanic here on Chalet. So you can throw a Cade Claw here right above this beam. Now, as you can see, this does not reach the wall. However, if you throw another Cade up here and hit this other Cade, it will fall up there, which makes it very difficult to see, and it does get the wall. Then you can destroy this Cade, and now all of a sudden, this is going to be almost impossible for them to find and shoot this Cade unless they have an IQ or a Thatcher. If you open up this wall with Hibana, you can actually vault into sight and get a ton of free kills. However, there are a couple little details that you need to remember before doing it. One, whenever you go Hibana, you need to use the pistol, because when you run the Bearing 9, you don't run as quickly. But with the pistol, as you can see, you get a 5% run speed modifier, allowing you to actually hit the vault. So just come up onto the roof, vault here, and then drop down here onto blacktop. Next, you want to shoot the pellets right about here. You just want to line up this middle one with this middle star, and then do another one right above it. Now, all you have to do is sprint forward, hold space, and then it will vault you into Billy. This will allow you to catch anyone off guard because they're going to assume you're just holding an angle from the roof. One of the best combos in the entire game is Thorn plus the new gas pipes that they added in Siege X. So this works especially well on this hallway, but it also works on a lot of other gas pipes. So
he's only got Muda only has 13 gigabytes of running Siege in the last 30 days, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he's cheating, but I'm pretty sure Muda is lying about his hours.
You place a Thorn mine kind of as hidden as possible behind this gas pipe here, right? The nice thing about, especially right here, is they're always going to be looking away. So even if they're all the way over here, they need to watch this for a swing. The first barbed wire, he punches it, it gets destroyed, doesn't matter, but you know he's coming. Now, he walks up to punch this next barbed wire. Then, when the Thorn mine goes off, I mean, he's not going to survive that. It is a ridiculous amount of damage. Now, this works on so many different gas pipes. For example, this one right outside of this garage door. If you are playing CCTV and they want to push through here, then they're going to be looking up at these stairs and they're never going to see this Thorn mine here. This means that once Buck walks through this doorway, whenever the Thorn mine activates, it is going to destroy the gas pipe, doing an insane amount of damage. This also adds the extra explosion, so even if they run back, they will still take damage, even if they might survive. The kitchen hatch on Clubhouse is one of the most easily opened hatches in the entire game. There is one mechanic with each hard breacher to allow you to get this hatch or any other hatch with soft flooring around it open instantly and very easily. Let's start with Hibana. The mechanic with Hibana is you jump on top of this here, and then you line up your pellets as close to the hatch as possible, right? You don't want it to be on the hatch. You just want it to be close over here where it doesn't get destroyed by the Cades. However, the edges here are still over the hatch a little bit. Then you want to do the exact same thing on the other side. It is still on the hatch a bit, just kind of overlapping the metal there. Now, whenever you activate the Hibana pellets, because of the explosion radius, it will still destroy the hatch, since 4 pellets are technically exploding on the hatch. Now, you can do a very similar mechanic to the last one with Ace. So again, you can place an Ace charge right next to the hatch. Now, only the center part of this Ace charge actually gets destroyed by electricity. So if you place the Ace charge right here next to the hatch, the edges will go onto the hatch and break open the hatch. Since you need 2 ace charges to get an entire hatch open. If you do it again, then whenever this second ace charge charges up and explodes, it will destroy the hatch. It doesn't matter if there's an electroclaw on the hatch or not. The hatch will get open very, very easily. And yes, you can do a very similar thing with Maverick. Now, Maverick doesn't even need soft flooring around it. You can do this on any hatch. All you have to do, especially since electricity no longer does damage, you can just stand on the hatch and do this now. All you have to do is just Mav Torch along the edge of the hatch. Do it along the edge because it does it slightly faster, I believe. All you have to do is just go right along the edge of the hatch. It also makes it so that way there's a smaller area you can get shot through.
Just play Mav at that point.
Test you while you do this, but you can just keep going along the edge, and once it gets to a certain point, it will destroy the hatch.
Bro,
and just to prove that it works on every single hatch in the game, this hatch has no soft flooring around it, and you can get Moto Hatch open very, very easily as well. Just go along the edges of the hatch like this. You just need to do, I believe it's 2.5 edges. Now, just once we get about halfway through this edge, then it will destroy the hatch. And finally, the exact same mechanic works with Thermite. However, you need to be careful. Thermites are a lot easier to shoot through the floor than the rest of them. So you do need to be aware, if you're fully relying on this strat, that if you place the Thermite down, once you activate it, they could potentially shoot up through the floor and destroy it. So once I activate the Thermite, there is a decent chance that they will shoot up through the floor and destroy it. But if they don't, then it will destroy the hatch. One of the best ways to get free kills with Kapkan is to place your Kapkan traps on doorways where people just don't know that they're doorways. Now, on border especially, there are a lot of these. So for example, did you know that this right here is a doorway? Did you know that this is also a doorway? When people are walking down this hallway, they do not think of these as doorways. So if you place some Kapkan traps on this doorway here, I usually just go with 2. So now whenever Deimos walks down the hallway, he will die to the Kapkans because he just doesn't realize that there is a door frame there. This works all the time in my champion ranked games, and I would absolutely recommend giving it a try. You can hide diffusers fairly well with ram boogies. So for example, if I go gem here and I plant in a weird spot, right? Let's say somehow this is castled and I'm able to plant here in this corner where they wouldn't normally expect me to plant. Then I can throw my ram boogie, land it right on top of the diffuser, ideally over kind of towards the side here, and whenever they walk in, it might take them an extra second or 2 to find the diffuser. Once they find the diffuser though, they can still defuse it. However, that extra couple of seconds can absolutely win you rounds. There is an operator combo that allows you to perfectly trick with Cade every single time on normal walls, not even hatches. It works against any hard breacher other than Maverick, because nothing can counter Maverick because he's broken. But let's take this server wall for example. Usually if I throw my 2-round canister on the wall and then Cade also throws his electroclaw on the wall, the problem is that his electroclaw gets frozen, meaning once the 2-round canister goes away, then the Cade starts charging up. This does not allow you to trick the wall. However, there is a way to fix this problem. If you throw your 2-brow up here on the roof, it will still freeze the wall. But then if Cade throws his Cade all the way over here on the ground, then you can see the wall is frozen, but the Cade electroclaw is not. So what this causes is the second the 2-brow gets destroyed, the wall gets electrified the very same millisecond. What this allows for is the second the 2-brow goes away, any hard breaching gadget on the other side of this wall gets destroyed instantly. When you're playing Nomad, right, obviously you can use your Nomads for flank, and you should. However, don't use all of them for flank. You maybe need one. The rest of your Nomads you should save for post plant. So if I come in here, for example, and I plant the diffuser, then there are a couple different things I can do with my Nomads to defend this diffuser. One option is place it in a spot that will prevent them from running up to the diffuser and defusing it from where they are playing. This way, if you are playing over here, playing kind of a post-plant situation, and Valkyrie runs up to try to swing the diffuser, she gets hit, and you get a free kill. Or there is another option, which is personally my favorite option, which after I plant the diffuser, then I can back up from the diffuser, and I can place it directly on the diffuser, right? Place it slightly behind, so that way it's harder to see and shoot. And then you can obviously combo it with the other option that we talked about before, right? So if Frost comes over here and she hits the air jab, then congratulations, you can get a kill on her. But now, if she goes and tries to defuse the diffuser, then she gets hit the second she rounds the corner and you can kill her. Let's say say she gets the kill on you, right? Because you're over peeking. Then whenever she gets the kill and she runs up to the diffuser, she gets knocked away from the diffuser, giving you an extra 3 to 5 seconds to potentially win the round on time. Which if Frost has gone through a clutch, then she's not going to have much time left, and this will win you the round a lot of the time. Capitao smokes can give you one-way smokes. All you need to do is shoot them anywhere where the roof comes down a little bit. One of the easiest ways to do that is just to place it at the top of doorways. So if I'm outside service here, right, maybe I push in, or maybe even it's in a post-plant situation, right? I get the diffuser down over here. No matter the situation, all you have to do is shoot the Capitao smoke at the top of the doorway. This way, if you are far back from the angle, it gives you a one-way on a zombie. That way, whenever she swings the door, you can kill her very easily.
I'm gonna use that.